Vladimir Putin continues to accuse Ukraine of non-compliance with the terms of the grain agreement. During his speech at the Russia-Africa conference in Moscow on March 20th, he stated that most of the production along the corridor in the Black Sea allegedly goes to well-fed countries and not to African states. Putin again threatened Russia's withdrawal from the grain deal and promised in this case to supply grain to Africa for free.
Russia is certainly fighting for influence in Africa. The main goals that it pursues in this case are the struggle for new markets, for new areas of foreign economic activity, which is especially important in the context of sanctions from Western countries. Secondly, it is support in the international arena, in international organizations from African countries, which, despite injections from Russia, often remain slow.
During the Russia-Africa conference, Putin also said that Moscow had written off about $20 billion of debt to African countries. With this money, Zambia, Gabon or Burkina Faso could live for a year, and Chad, Mauritania and Rwanda for 2. Thus, while the monthly federal budget deficit in Russia reaches a record, medicine, education and social programs remain crumbs, and there are not enough funds even to support the army. Moscow forgives Africa billions, everything in order to acquire new allies in the conditions of global isolation.
The power of the global south is so great that even small gradations of positions are very important. That is, either a complete arms embargo against Russia, for example, will be observed or it will not. Either Russian energy price caps will be observed or they won't. A lot depends on this.
The Kremlin is trying to win Africa over to its side not only with money, but also through propaganda. Russia imposes the idea that the West is trying to conquer the countries of Africa and calls it neocolonialism. And the US is accused of building, quote, unipolar world order.
There is, of course, the problem that all these countries of the global south are still very sensitive to issues of colonialism, as they believe because they have suffered a lot from European colonialism from the Western one, and now that they hear China and Russia say that the so-called multipolarity is the fight against Western colonialism, which in fact does not exist, so they get some kind of response.
While the countries of the West support Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression, from humanitarian aid to the supply of weapons, the states of the global south continue to take a neutral position, largely due to the influence of Russia. Enlisting their support is not an easy task for Kyiv. According to Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, the situation in the global south requires increased diplomatic attention.
We are competing with a country that has spent a lot of money on the countries of the global south for many years. I mean, of course, Russia, which has its own diplomatic missions and consulates there with a very large staff, has information policy capabilities, has a cultural cooperation with scientific and analytical institutions and so on. Therefore, of course, they hear what Russia tells them first of all. Here is our main problem.
A breakthrough in relations between Kyiv and the countries of South Africa occurred last year, experts stated. Volodymyr Zelensky said in the summer that Ukraine is activating its policy in Africa and it is already yielding the first results. So, during the voting on the resolution on the territorial integrity of Ukraine in the UN General Assembly, 29 out of 54 African countries agreed with the position of Kyiv. Among them are several influential states of the continent, which previously refrained from supporting Ukraine. Reported by Roman Smoler, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.